They got the shields right. I like the shields. Like triangle, that's a Greek letter lambda, which is short for Lacedaemon, which is what the Spartans called their own city. They called it Lacedaemon.
Right now, I say we drench the gods with their bloods! What say you, Spartans?
As the Spartans lost.
They put on a good show.
They did put on a good show, because there's just a couple hundred of them and another 1,000 of some other Greeks that no one really seems to ever talk about. Less cool.
Right, because 400 standing up an army against a million is, David versus Goliath.
They just bought, and the thing about it is Thermopylae was so far north of Sparta. That's why they told them not to go. Like, they were sort of defending a lot more of Greece. They had to go through a ton of other parts of Greece to get to Sparta, and they kind of just bought the rest of Greece time by sacrificing themselves. All the male full Spartan citizens were trained to be full-time soldiers. They had enslaved the entire area around Sparta to essentially farm all the land and give the food to the Spartans, so they wouldn't have to be farmers. It was the only polis or city in all of Greece that had the setup. If you couldn't hack it, they'd literally just abandon you to die. A dramatic death scene.
True to what we know, they all died to the last man.
Yep, they definitely did. Sinis. He was one of the brigands that Theseus killed on his way to Athens, was Sinis.
Wasn't he the pine bender?
He was the pine bender. Yeah, he would tie it to 2 pine trees and pull them all apart where you'd be torn in half. And Theseus just did that to him.
I do like all of the flowers. The Greeks, just like the Romans, love bringing the outside and nature into their home. All that would have been fairly accurate.
Looks like they're at very close quarters, which would be accurate because they would literally just ram into each other. That's how they fought ship battles. I don't know about the fire sword. Obviously, there's some sort of mythological thing going on in this game on top of the history.
Interesting idea to blend the mythology of ancient Greece in with the history. Because to the Greeks, they would have been, one and the same.
It's funny because our history of the Peloponnesian War comes from Thucydides, who very much was not a guy that would use the opposite, or at least self-claiming to be the opposite of Herodotus. So when you read about it from a very non-mythological point of view. I feel like this hand-to-hand combat is pretty brutal.
Outstretch your mighty hands!
The one eye.
The one eye. Cyclops. They got Empedocles.
You want to take this Empedocles?
Oh, no, I'll let you take this one because I'm going to get it mixed up a little bit. And is that a belt of skulls? Those must be trophies.
Oh yeah, well that's a cyclops, so I guess the eye. Oh, Brontes, the thunderer. Do we get Argus and Steropes as well?
We're gonna kill the cyclops. They'd be very strong but sort of dumb. And just talking in grunt seems accurate.
He needs a big piece of wood. Drive it into that eye.
He needs a lot of wine and a large pointed off piece of wood.
Big sharp pointing
stick. Just like
stick.
Odysseus did.
Oh, and don't forget the clever lie when he says he's nobody.
I am no one.
I am no one.
Who has blinded you? No one has blinded. Well,
me.
then I guess it's cool. I'll just leave you alone.
Probably the punishment of the gods.
The bigger they are, the more I have to stop them.
First civilization artifact. Prometheus? Not the god, I mean the movie where aliens came to Earth and led to people. Is it one of those kinds of deals?
I think they're referring to an early civilization, like Bronze Age.
Okay.
Maybe Mycenaean. Oh, the Minotaur.
Sometimes just a dude with a bullhead, sometimes it's everything sort of both. It seems to be everything sort of both, but then also a bullhead. That's cool.
The horns look lovely and menacing.
They do. I like the back hair. That's a nice touch. The sort of back mohawk. Yeah, it's interesting how you're glomming on the Cyclops and the Minotaur onto the Peloponnesian War.
Well, and you wouldn't want to lose this fight because that Minotaur would eat you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cyclops would eat you too, wouldn't it? Though?
They because Cyclops would he just grabbed his friends and bashed them on the wall and just ate them. The Odyssey. I mean, most monsters would just sort of eat you. That's sort of
kind of a monster thing to do.
Yeah, it's sort of a monster thing to do. Are we? Are we in the Labyrinth again?
Sure. You'd think it would be the Labyrinth, considering that's where he was imprisoned.
But Crete doesn't really have any. Why would you be in Crete if it's the Peloponnesian War?
Mater would be so proud.
Mater again. Oh, he's gonna take the horn. Oh, there's a bunch of dudes got turned into stone. Medusa. I'm interested in this one. That's a really tragic story. They made her really ugly. Of course they did. Oh, her eyes have a laser beam power now. That's how they do it. Essentially, she was punished with her appearance.
I thought it was Athena. Because Poseidon tricked her into going into Athena's temple, where Poseidon had his way with her, and Athena decided to punish her.
Because if you have sex in the temple of a virgin goddess, it's really not a good thing. So she was beautiful before, and she was turned into this hideous thing. And then if you looked at her, you would turn to stone. And some depictions she's kind of just looks not so ugly, but with snake hair, and some they make her like really unattractive.
Well, and they loved Medusa in the ancient world. I mean,
yeah.
she was on like lamps because they believed that she was so powerful she would turn away the evil spirits. I mean,
Perseus defeated her by looking at her, and the inside of his shield is like a mirror, so you wouldn't actually see her. But Alexios has no shield, so I'm wondering how he's going to do this.
probably avoid that.
If it's pictured as a death beam as opposed to just looking at her period, then it becomes not quite so bad.
And when Medusa was the only, she had 2 other sisters who were immortal, and she was the only mortal one.
Yeah, that's right. She was the only mortal one.
Gosh, who were the other 2?
I remember they were the Gorgons. I couldn't remember the name top of my head.
Oh, Steno and Euryale. That's what they were.
I was about to give the names to the Furies. Like, that's the wrong set of 3 women that do bad things to men. There's like 5 of those.
There's so many groups of like 3.
3.
The Fates, the Furies, the Grey Eyes,
Furies,
the Graces.
The Gorgons. It's always 3.
It's always 3.
And you don't want to get on the bad side of any of those 3 women groups, and it's bad news.
Well, I can't imagine that Medusa would have been a great warrior, considering, she was basically a Greek woman.
Unless she was an Amazon, which she was not. She could just look at you, so I don't know.
Maybe her martial prowess came with her punishment.
Possibly.
I always felt bad for Medusa.
Yeah.
Tricked into things, punished for it. It was really all the man's fault.
You just take a snake from her head like you took the horn from the Minotaur.
So yeah, taking souvenirs like every Greek hero would do.
The river Styx is one of the rivers of the underworld, and supposedly it's the one you had to cross to get into the underworld. The Charon, the ferryman, would ferry you across.
This was also the river of unbreakable oaths by which the gods would swear to do or not do things. So it was a fairly powerful river in the underworld.
Well, the entire underworld was the realm of Hades, so Styx would have been part of it.
Well, they got the ugliness right.
I never pictured him that large, but they got the ugliness and the lameness. Festus is the ancient god of smithing and blacksmithing and sort of making things and fire, yeah. With volcanoes, the sort of lava spewing out was thought to be often him working in a shop.
My beautiful Icarus!
So that's supposed to be Daedalus. Daedalus was Icarus's father. I don't know if this is Daedalus, I'm assuming, because he said my son Icarus. And they had been trapped in a tower in Crete, and he built the wings of wax and feathers for him and Icarus to fly away. Icarus flew too close to the sun. The wax melted, he fell into the sea and died.
I took the gift of Hades, the liquid fire, and the ice storm to create the power of the Labyrinth.
The Labyrinth was what Daedalus built on Crete to enclose the Minotaur. It's weird because it's talking about he's chained up and he's talking about having taken fire. It's almost like they're conflating Daedalus and Prometheus. Prometheus was a titan who stole fire from Zeus and gave it to mankind and was punished by being chained to a rock forever and having
I think it was an eagle or a vulture.
Sounds right. Eating his liver. And Kratos, which is the name of this character, I guess, was one of the sort of minions of Zeus that chained him up there in the first place, but it's probably just a coincidence.
Pandora, no!
Pandora was the first woman created by the gods, and she was given as a wife to one of the titans, Epimetheus, whose name meant afterthought. He was the brother of Prometheus, whose name means forethought. And so the gods bestowed all kinds of gifts upon Pandora: beauty, intelligence, wit, humor, and one of the gods gave her either a jar or a box, typically, and the jar or the box contained all of the evils of the world, and they told her not to open it. And of course, eventually curiosity got the best of her. She opened the box and released all the evils of the world.
Hermes was the messenger of the gods, had special winged sandals, supposed to be able to run very fast. Also the god of tricksters and thieves, so he's not usually as buff, but he's flipping a coin. He's looking a little sneaky. He's running really fast.
I figured that would be Ares there, considering the armor, the spikes on the armor. That would be something that the god of war for the Greeks would wear. He's also wielding a weapon, so all of that kind of leads me to believe that that would be Ares, the god of war.
Apollo, he was the god of a lot of different things. He was generally pictured younger, not bearded, sort of a handsome 20-something. And one of his things was he was the god of the sun, so he would fly a special chariot that would sort of pull the sun up and down, and he just jumped into a chariot as it flew by us. That's probably him. It definitely plays up their stereotypes, I suppose.
The murderer of Gaia enters my tomb. Kronos!
Oh, it's Kronos. That would add Zeus's father, who he imprisoned in the underworld after defeating him and overthrew him to take over the rule of the heavens and the world. And so yeah, that's why we thought that Hephaestus would have been a titan earlier, because he's huge and he's imprisoned in the underworld, which is what Zeus did to the titans after they defeated them.
He banished me to the pits of Tartarus.
That makes sense. That's where he would be.
Tartarus, yeah.
Tartarus is like the hell of the underworld.
They sent the worst of the worst there.
Yeah, all the stuff was below in the underworld. Like we think of like the good stuff is up, the bad stuff is down. To the ancients, everything was down because the gods were up. So there was a good part and a neutral part and a bad part where all the bad people went, and Tartarus was that. And there's fire and you'd be tortured. So you don't want to go there.
No.
It's not good. Oh, maybe that was Helios before,
yeah,
which literally
chariot.
means sun in Greek. And so there's like different chariot sun drivers in different versions. Helios is one of them. I don't think you can kill them per se. You just have to imprison them.
I did think they died, though, because Pan was considered the last god living, wasn't he?
Guess. I mean, mythology is weird.
Well, it never happened. It's not true, and it was all made up, so it's hard to say.
It's
whether
hard
it
to
was
say,
right or wrong.
yeah. Was Hades the guy that we saw earlier? No, that must have been Hades the whole time.
With the spiked armor.
Yeah, so that was Hades. He's mad.
Are those winged things similar to the Furies,
I think
maybe?
there's 3 of them, so they must be the Furies. No, there's more than 3 of them. I don't know. But I think they're
Harpies,
Fury-esque.
maybe?
They're Furies-esque.
Okay. Well, in
Harpy.
the underworld, that would make sense.
Yeah, because they would help with the punishment. Goddesses of vengeance, these like winged sisters that would torture you. Oh, Helios' beam is very bright. I guess that's how you kill the sun, is by stomping on the side of their head.
I guess.
That freak has fallen from the graces of Olympus!
That freak. That's funny. They're all like high schoolers.
Kratos, the fool who killed his own blood.
That's definitely Hermes.
All right, we forgot to talk about Hermes being the god who led all the souls to the underworld.
That's true. Hermes Psychopompos. This is very Hermes. Just agile and a kind of a snarky guy.
Another Greek Karen. More wine.
I told him the day you were born to kill you.
Is that Hera?
Yeah, I would guess with that crown, that would be Hera.
That's about right.
No.
Stupid husband took pity.
Wait, no. If it's Ares, maybe this is Aphrodite.
Either one would say stupid husband, wouldn't they?
Yeah, she's very like middle-aged, former beauty queen vibes, which to me, maybe Aphrodite.
Hello, brother.
Oh, if it's brother, then Zeus thought that must have been Hera?
You were always Zeus's favorite.
And that's funny that he would call him Zeus's favorite, considering Heracles.
Heracles specifically was Zeus's favorite.
Yes.
I mean, he was bigger and stronger than anyone else.
Oh, and he traveled all over.
Literally.
I mean, and just like his father, sired children everywhere he went.
Oh, God. He didn't treat women well either, but none of them really
Well, cats
did.
don't make dogs, do they?
No, they don't. But he probably was big. I don't know how big. I mean, we can't say.
Think about it, brother. While I was stuck cleaning the Augean stables, he chose...
Yeah, one of his labors was to essentially clean out a bunch of poop from a bunch of stables, and he like manually rerouted a river to do it really fast because he's strong.
I was sent to find an apple.
Also true.
Perhaps he did allow me to kill the Nemean lion, but he made your name known.
So the Nemean lion was the first of Heracles' labors. It was a monster that was rampaging through Nemea, hence its name Nemean lion, and it was impervious to all weapons, so eventually he picked up the big cat and strangled it to death.
Which I'm wondering if they've adapted that to, is that like a lion on the helmet? I can't quite tell.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah.
Enough!
So that's Gaia. Yeah, Gaia literally means earth in Greek. So which is why she's like green and she looks like an Ent from Lord of the Rings or something like that.
She uses the word geology.
G anything.
Yes,
It means
geo, yeah.
G anything that has to do with earth or land.
Geo.